It is. It does. There. Oh, there you are. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I am delighted to be here today and to be able to speak on this first Sunday of Lent, which is, I don't think I've ever done that before. So I was trying to think about what are my childhood memories of this time when I was growing up. And I have to say that my memories of this time were all pretty dismal. I mean, I was raised in a church that didn't actually do anything like give stuff up for Lent. So that didn't make any sense to me when my friends would say, "Oh, what are you giving up for Lent?" And I'd say, I don't know. But I just remember that it was, like the snow was old and dirty and it was not cold and it wasn't warm. It was just kind of in between. It was kind of like, Lent is dismal, just dismal. The only bright spot that I can recall was Girl Scout cookies. Yeah, I mean, there's a bright spot for you if ever there was one. But I'm happy to say that that whole notion of Lent is not what Unity has as its understanding of Lent. And we're about to we already have actually on Wednesday, embarked on a 40-day adventure in Unity's version of Lent. And in fact, those little booklets in the back will be very helpful on that journey. It's interesting, this year they've taken and identified a variety of things that it would be useful to let go and alphabetize them. And so Wednesdays was something or other. I think Thursday was anxiety. And then we're starting in the A's and we're going to go all the way through. So this is wonderful. And the Sundays through the 40 days focus on tools and ways to let go of all those things that they've identified in the alphabet. So what I thought I'd do today is just take a little moment to talk about Lent from a metaphysical point of view, and then just explore a little bit some ideas that came to me about letting go of things for the next 40 days and hopefully permanently, because that's the whole point, is to clear this stuff out. So I looked up in the metaphysical understanding of Lent from Unity's stuff online, and I sort of remembered this but not real well, was that at the end of this 40 days, Jesus went off into the desert for 40 days to just be away from it all, get away from the external world, all the distractions out there, and just have a time to just regroup and just be. And at the end of that time, or somewhere during that time, the story says that the devil came and tested him 3 times. Well, as we know, there is no such thing as the devil. So I think this story, as Unity puts it also, this story of the 3 tests is really an illustration for us to be able to understand ways that our ego consciousness shows up in our lives and tries to lure us away from our path to understanding the full spiritual fullness that we are. And the first one was the story of hunger. Tempting Jesus with hunger and saying, why don't you turn these stones into bread if you're hungry? And of course, the response to that is that the hunger that we have is a hunger for internal spiritual growth. It isn't a hunger for external material things. And so that's a reminder that we can get past that notion that we need to have stuff and get into the notion of, oh yes, it's about our spiritual growth. The second one was when supposedly the devil took Jesus up to a very, very, very high place where you could see the entire world and all of the other countries and worlds within the world. And the devil said, I will offer you power over all of this. That's what I will give you if you will follow me. And of course, Jesus said, no, I'm not an earthly power person. I am a spiritual power person. And I was thinking about that one in particular, how tempting that is right now to just wish, oh my gosh, I wish I could be, well, it isn't even enough to be president of the United States anymore, because that obviously isn't enough to solve all our problems. So we'd have to go higher than that. But wouldn't it be fine if we could just, wave a wand and be all powerful and cure all these ills that are happening all over the place? But of course, that's not what it's about either. It's about inner spiritual growth. And all of what we're seeing is waves on the surface of what really is a deeper, deeper understanding. Although it sure would be nice. And I do find myself from time to time saying, oh, I wish. Anyway. And then the third one was took Jesus up to a high spot. Again, this is the devil, it doesn't exist. Took him up to a high spot on the tower or something and said, how about if we just throw you off this tower and see if God will come and save you? And of course, that's not the way it works. And to me, this story really speaks about victims, about us thinking of ourselves as victims and thinking, oh, we need to have some great power outside of us come around and rescue us when we get into trouble. But that isn't it either. It's all from inside. It's all our own developing of our own spiritual strength. So there's stories there that speak to where we are right now, unfortunately, in very strong ways. And we have an opportunity to take these next 40 days and think about them. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I don't remember, I think it might have been Michael last week, somebody recently quoted a quote from Rumi that just seemed to me to epitomize what it is that we have to do during Lent. And this is the quote: "The task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within you that you have built against it, and then embrace them." Wow. Yeah. So I kind of went along just fine with the first part about finding the barriers. But that last part about embracing them, ooh, that's a little harder. So I'm going to get to that in a minute, but just keep that in mind as we go forward here. We've just finished reading Wayne Dyer's book. And I must say that Wayne Dyer's book was really helpful for me in identifying some of those barriers, some of those thought patterns, some of those chronic things that I have in my consciousness that have been preventing me from going where I need to go. And as Wayne Dyer says in his book, he says, we're meant to be living in a state of peace, wonder, and joy all the time. And that's who we are meant to be. And of course, that's not real easy to do, particularly not all the time. And why is it that we can't do that? Well, it's because these barrier thoughts come up in our minds. And these barriers actually exist only in our minds. That's the interesting part about it. These barriers that keep us from being able to live in that state all the time are really thought patterns that we have in our own minds. So it isn't that there's anything out there that is trying to hurt us. It's just that we react to things based on this stuff we have inside, these barriers that make us forget that we are divine beings and that the universe is here to support us. And instead we see these illusions and we believe them, and then we react to them. Well, Wayne Dyer identifies three major obstacles we have to overcome in terms of getting past these barriers. And the first one that he identifies is inner speech. Now, I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert here. I read ahead in the Lenten book, and one of the Sundays talks about one of these ways of letting go. It identifies something called the terrible twos. Isn't that cute? The terrible twos. But what they're talking about is, oh, I'm too stupid. Oh, I'm too unworthy. Oh, I'm too fat. Oh, I'm too poor. Oh, all those are the terrible twos. And that is one of the speech patterns that we have going on inside our heads all the time that create these barriers to our being able to just really be the fullness of who we know we are. So I liked that one in particular, the terrible twos. Just if you remember nothing else from this whole talk, just remember the terrible twos. We're all stuck in the terrible twos and we need to get out of them. The other one that Wayne Dyer mentioned that really hit home to me, and I don't know, maybe it'll hit home to some of you, was this idea that we should not be happy because there is suffering in the world, that there are people who are not being able to be happy right now, and therefore we shouldn't be either. And that's one that I've carried with me for a long, long time. And it works at such a deep level that I'm not even aware of it a lot of the time. I just have this lowered sense of It's like turning a light bulb down, like a rheostat, like, okay, here's how bright I could be, but oh no, I'm going to have to turn my rheostat down because there are other people who aren't, therefore I shouldn't be either. That's the message that I know I need to focus on and pay attention to. That isn't true. It doesn't help anybody. As Marianne Williams quote, the famous one we keep referring to all the time, we are meant to be way greater than we even know, and we should not be hiding ourselves under bushel baskets and turning down the rheostat because we think it's going to hurt someone else who's not being able to do what we can do. And the third area that he identified is the whole area of the ego. He called it self-importance. But just this notion that we have this ego part of us that just has all these things that it thinks it has to have in order for us to be safe and in order to endure. And of course, they're all things that lead us down that road toward barriers and toward separation from knowing who we really are. Some of them are familiar from other sources, but I think I'll just run down through the list just to, again, tick off all these things we all get to think about and work on letting go over the next 40 days. And beyond. The first one he identifies is called Stop Being Offended. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, it's like, okay, that doesn't gain me anything. And in all likelihood, you probably weren't intending it anyway. I'm just reading this into the situation. So stop being offended. Second one is to let go of needing to win. That's not, well, that's a sneaky one. Because I grew up in a family where I was the only girl, and it was a very competitive boy environment. And so I gave up trying to win way long time ago. I thought, well, that's useless. I'm not going to waste my energy there. But there's still this little part of me that, when, it just kind of underneath it all really likes to try to do that. So just, pay attention to how that shows up in sneaky little ways. This next one really hit home to me. And this is to let go of the need to be right. Now, the reason this hit home to me is not because I like to argue with people and win arguments. I'm terrible at arguing. I just back off from arguments all the time. But what I do is I make judgments. And I say to myself, aha, whatever I think of the situation is whatever is actually happening in this situation. And everybody else may or may not agree with me, but I know what I'm thinking is right. And that's the part that's the sneaky part, because there is no right and wrong. It just is. But you come in with this notion of, okay, I'm not trying to be right here. I'm not arguing with anybody, but inside I have this little judgment that says, So yeah, there's one sneaks up on you, sneaks up on me. There's the need to let go of being superior, which is one that we as a whole culture are grappling with now as we're getting more and more aware of what it is that we've been doing all these years and assuming that our way was the only way and that nobody else has anything of any value to offer. So that's an interesting one to try to let go of. There's letting go of the need to have more. I don't know about the rest of you, but I found this last couple of years with COVID to be really, really relaxing, because I didn't need to have to go out and think about, okay, what am I going to wear? Do I need more clothes, etc. I have bought very, very few clothes in the last couple of years, and I have boxes and drawers of them sitting at home that I save. I have a whole wardrobe that I save for one reason, and it's to speak on Sundays at Unity. Otherwise, I just don't do that kind of thing, and I'd get rid of those too, except that I need to have an outfit that's purple and one that's green and one. So anyway, yeah, we don't need any more. And as we're getting more and more into climate change, we realize how seriously damaging it is, not just to our psyches and our souls to be grasping at more stuff, but it's really bad for the planet as well. So it's fashionable now. My car, for example, my car is a 1998 car, and it runs beautifully. It's beginning to show a little bit of wear on the outside, but as long as it's running and it burns clean, it gets about the same mileage as some of these new cars do. I don't need a new car. I just want to be and do what needs to be done and not add any more to what's going on in the universe in terms of stuff. So there's one. Let go of identifying with your achievements. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't, the outside stuff of what we do is not the measure of who we are. That's for sure. And finally, this one, let go of your reputation. Now, does that mean that we're not supposed to try to be a good person? No, 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 no. What he means by that is let go of what other people think of you, because what it is that should guide us is what comes from within, not what society says or somebody else says, or what we're afraid to step forward because somebody might get the wrong idea, etc. So those are the self-importance of connections with the ego that Wayne Dyer identified. These are all barriers, and we can identify them, like I just ticked them all off, some of mine, etc. But just having identified them isn't enough. Then there's that next step of letting them go, and that is a little harder, because we do have these sneaky little ways of having them come back in the back door. And so the whole question is, what is it that is getting in our way of letting those things go? And the one that really resonated with me, the concept that really has captured my attention, is this idea of resistance and non-resistance. Resistance, because if there ever is anything that prevents me from, what was that term that Rumi used, embracing what it is that I need to let go, it's this concept of resistance. Ugh, I don't want to embrace that, whatever it may be. Ugh. So where does that come from, and what can we do about that? Well, what resistance does is it puts another level of thought between us and where we're trying to go, between us and our joy and our peace and tranquility. And Wayne Dyer has this wonderful statement. He says, you cannot be connected to source and be stressed at the same time. This is mutually exclusive. Your source does not create from a place of anxiety. So that's where we want to go. But our ego keeps getting in the way. So what is it that we need to be able to do to embrace these things? Because as Wayne Dyer says in his book, you cannot remedy anything by condemning it. So it's not enough to say, oh, I have this tendency and I don't like it. In fact, not only is it not enough, it prevents you from getting rid of it, because then you're creating that negative energy that just feeds on itself. So what can we do? Well, I'm going to outline a couple of concepts here, and I want you just to think about them, because this is from a unity description of non-resistance, these thoughts. Here's the first one. Life doesn't hurt you, but your resistance to life may hurt you. Life doesn't hurt you, but your resistance to life may hurt you. Because mental resistance is the act of receiving hurt. We have a choice of how we interpret whatever happens to us. And resistance is what leads us to say, I'm going to interpret this as a hurt. Non-resistance is the act of refusing hurt, of being able to say, I see this experience, but it does not have the power to hurt me. And if we can do those two things, to be able to recognize the first and move to the second, that is the heart of non-resistance. Because harm only exists in our minds. It's how we interpret the world that causes us harm. And non-resistance allows us to see the world as a place with no harm. Well, I have here a passage that I want to read. And again, this is from Imelda Shanklin, writing in Truth Unity. She has a whole long piece in there entitled, "What Are You?" And this is from the section on non-resistance. When you are resistant, when you are non-resistant, you do not oppose mentally or physically. You are insured against the friction of resistance. Mental resistance excites your nerves, makes them tense, burns them out. You become irritable and apprehensive. It saps the fluids of your body and makes your flesh sensitive. Your life takes on two interests: defense of what you call your rights and defense of your body. Mental resistance challenges to warfare all the phantoms of the fictitious world. Non-resistance cancels all these and brings you tranquility in place of warring. Non-resistance means not to oppose mentally or physically. In non-resistance, there is no misuse of power through combativeness or through defensive tactics. The strength of all your gifts can be turned to the creation of harmonies. Yeah. Let me just go on a little bit more about what resistance does. In any warfare in which you find yourself engaged, you are the one who wars and the one who is warred against. The war against your own thoughts of nature, of people, of life. The universe is at peace. Your skirmishes are on the surface. They do not reach into the heart of life. If you think that you hate others, you hate merely what your imperfect vision claims to see in others. If you distrust others, your distrust is proof that you doubt the integrity of the universe. If you resist anything, you resist but the opinion that you have formed in relationship to that thing. So that certainly helped me to understand a little more what resistance does and why it's so difficult to get rid of and how it really harms us. But I needed a little more to figure out what the alternative was. Why is it okay to not feel that you have to do something when some external thing causes you to be a little anxious, a little concerned? What is it that gives us the confidence to be able to say, okay, I am not going to interpret this as harm? And this next passage really, really helped me understand that. The essence of non-resistance is unity. You are not isolated from the rest of the universe. You are an indispensable part of the universe. And as such, the universe loves, protects, and cherishes you. In so caring for you, the universe is self-preserving. You are safe. You are inconceivably valuable. Nothing opposes you. You are in the midst of friends. You are in the midst of friends. Isn't that a lovely phrase? Just think how our lives would be totally different if we lived every day realizing that no matter what it is that happens, we're in the midst of friends. They may look like they're not to our ego selves, but everything that happens in this world, everything around us, all the time, we are in the midst of friends. Things would be really different if we did that. And that is, in fact, the truth of what the universe is and who we are. So the practice of non-resistance becomes easy when you take the attitude toward the universe in its entirety and toward each entity of the universe in particular that the universe takes towards you. The universe is not isolated from you. It is indispensable to you, and as such, you love, protect, and cherish what it contains. The universe is safe. It is inconceivably valuable. You oppose nothing. You are one with the friendly host that environs all things. So, unity, here we are again, back to that oneness, back to that realization that we are all part of the infinite universe. And that infinite universe is one of care, of love, of support, of joy. It has no harm in it. Anything that we interpret as harm is us interpreting it otherwise. So when I realized all of that about resistance and non-resistance, I said to myself, okay, so maybe that term embrace, maybe there's something there after all that I can connect with. If I can believe that the universe is a place of goodness and that everything that happens in the universe is happening from that place of goodness, then I can go beyond just identifying those things that pop up in my mind, and I can embrace them because it's safe to embrace them. It's safe to be able to say, okay, pattern that I don't like anymore. It's okay. I embrace the idea that you're there. And when I can do that, then I can release it. Because as Wayne Dyer said, you can't release something if you're holding it in a negative thought. So there's some behind the scenes, a little bit more interesting slant at how to give up the stuff we're going to be giving up over the next 40 days. And that really is all that I have to say on all of that. Just to think about non-resistance. Go the next level and go back to Rumi's quote, which is right here. Our task for the next 40 days and for the rest of our lives, our task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within you that you have built against it and embrace them. And there's a couple things more practical things I wanted to mention that I forgot. So let me just go back and mention those. One of the things that Wayne Dyer talks about is energy level. When you surround yourself with things that either amplify or squash your energy. And I had an amazing discovery about a month ago, and it had to do with my cell phone. I realized that my cell phone was just really bringing my energy level down because I had it set in such a way that every time anything happened, I would get a notification. And so my system was continually responding to these little ding, ding, ding. Fortunately, everybody's got their cell phone turns off. So actually, I think I forgot to turn mine off. But I have this thing in place, which is preventing it from making any noise right now. Anyway, it's incredibly stressful to have that little thing going off all the time, even though you ignore it, or at least you think you ignore it. At some level, you're aware of the fact, oh, there's a little something, oh, there's a little something, oh, there's a little something. So there's this function on your cell phone called sleep mode. And my daughter is the one who taught me about it. And she taught me about it because I wanted to be able to be available when she was about to have her baby because I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I didn't want to have my cell phone sitting next to the bed going bling, 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 bling all night long with everything else that comes in because I get a lot of crap. Anyway, she showed me how to put sleep mode in, and you can just choose the very few people that you want to hear from and everything else is blanked out. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. So I did that while she was pregnant and toward the last couple of weeks and when she had her baby and for the first couple of weeks after that. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute. I can put on sleep mode 24 hours a day and not get stuff from anybody I don't want to get stuff from, which some of you may have already discovered that. But anyway, I highly recommend that you take a good look at your phone and realize, 50 years ago, I think many of you go back that far. We didn't have cell phones and we survived just fine. We didn't find out what was happening every instant it was happening. And actually, I think we survived better. So as an opportunity to help your energy level come up and get rid of some of the stuff in your life, I highly recommend you explore the sleep mode function on your cell phone and how you can exclude all kinds of things you don't need to pay attention to until you're ready to. I mean, there are things you still want to see and get, but you choose when it comes in. The other thing I'll just add is energy levels of music and TV. And as we all know, TV these days is extremely violent, but a lot of bad stuff out there, and all that kind of stuff lowers your energy level. We want to be doing things that raise our energy level. So my last thought before we go into our meditation is to suggest to you all that for the next 40 days, you don't watch the news. Just abstain from watching the news. Give yourself 40 days of peace. I mean, you're still going to get it from other people and whatnot, but you don't have to have that being something you think you should be following. Just like your cell phone, you can turn it off for 40 days and see if that might not help a lot in raising your energy level and in giving you the strength you need to be able to actually let go of some of the things that you're going to be working on for the next 40 days as this process of letting go. And again, the booklet has A to Z section. I don't know if there's a Z, I'm not sure. There is no Z, but they have a whole alphabetical section of all the things we can work to let go over the next 40 days. It'll be much easier to do all that if we abstain from the news, cut back our cell phones, and let ourselves just go into the wilderness for 40 days and just be. So let's do a meditation. Anybody can settle in, get comfortable. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to just kind of let it go, actually, let your whole physical self just sag on the chair you're sitting on. Oh, it feels good to just let go of everything. Let all of our human stuff fade into the background. And let ourselves just turn within. Just go to that place of peace. Go to that place of solitude and quiet within. Go to that desert retreat where we remember that we are spiritual beings. So we allow ourselves now to just be, to just let that peace, let that tranquility seep into every part of us. For we are spiritual beings. We are divine. We are one with the infinite harmony of the universe. One with that infinite flow of light and life. One with that infinite flow of harmony that is always moving everything toward its highest good. We allow that infinite presence to fill us in this moment. We ask that presence to be with us as we let go. We remember that we are not merely a physical body, that we are not only human, and embrace the truth of who we are. We have no limitations from age, education, any human factor. We are strong. We are worthy. And so we release any sense of limitation that we have as we remember that we are this infinite divine presence. We are open to new insights. We release past judgments, past condemnations of ourselves and others. We release thoughts of lack and limitation. Release is our spiritual name and nature. We naturally and effortlessly release wasteful thoughts of unworthiness and of being only human. With each breath, we release everything from the past, and we embrace wholeheartedly being in the present. Thank you, Spirit, for your presence here within us, for the wonderful universe that surrounds us, for the power of release that allows us to let go of what no longer serves us. We are grateful. Amen. So I invite you to come back now to this room. Time now to say our prayer of protection. And as we say it, let's remember that it essentially says we are safe and we can be limitless and free. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Okay, let's sing the peace song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it be So we're starting out this week, first full week of Lent, going out into the world in peace and harmony, remembering that we have this wonderful community of people who share our life and our thoughts in what it is that is true about who we really are. And when we remember who we really are, it is safe to let go. So go out there, let go, and have fun.
Michael, good to see you here.